Hey there, this is Rachel and you're watching Out of the Broom Closet. So today I am going to be talking about my history of magic and witchcraft and how that has affected me throughout my life, what I've experienced because of it. And I figured that while I talk, I could also eat a meal. Yes, I've just washed my hair and I have just made some food because when I am watching YouTube, I like to watch YouTube sometimes. And when I do, I'm usually eating dinner. So I figured why not do a little story time about witchcraft and magic in my life throughout my history while I eat some food. So what I've got here today is, let's see, a lentil curry that I made on a bed of brown rice. We've got mango chutney. We've got plain yogurt. And we've got some tamari, which is that fancy gluten-free soy sauce from the health food store where I work. So if you want to eat with me, you are welcome to. And if you haven't fixed anything, you can just pause the video and go fix you something right now. I'll wait. Okay, well, I'm ready to eat. I'm pretty hungry. But before we get into it, I'm going to bless the food. This is something that I bless like all of my food. Breakfast, lunch, and dinner. For beginners, you ain't even know. Childish Gambino. I bless my meals. That's just a big part of like my life as a witch. It's like a really simple, just little ritual that I think just infuses the food with a lot of good properties. So I am going to bless my food. This is like a little me coming out of the broom closet moment, because this is not something I do this with my kids. That's it. My two kids that are 7 years old and 5 years old. I bless the food with them. Pretty rare that I do it with anyone else. So I'm going to do it now. So I pray to the goddess, who's the big boss. I was raised religiously. So we prayed over dinner like every day, but now I kind of do it in my own way, right? So I pray to the goddess. So I'm going to do that now. Great goddess, thank you for this food. Thank you for the plants that gave their lives so that I could eat, the cows that gave milk, these gifts of your earth. I bless them now and fill them with light. And I also bless whoever is watching this video with me right now. I'm so thankful that they're here. And I just want to send my blessing to them too, in this amazing circle and web of connection in which we find ourselves. It is truly incredible. So I bless this food in the name of the life giver, the death wielder, and the regeneratrix. Amen. Yeah, so I was really used to crossing myself at a certain time, because there was a period in which I went to a Russian Orthodox church, and so you cross yourself, right? And I really liked that practice, but I wanted to do it in a sort of like, in a way that incorporated goddess religion. And so one form of the triple goddess that I know is the life giver, the one who gives life, the death wielder, the one who wields the power of death, and the regeneratrix. So the goddess who regenerates everything within her cosmic womb, right? So, and when I cross myself, it's in the shape of an upside down triangle, because that's the feminine, right? This is the feminine shape. So, and I end it over my womb, because that's where, over my womb, that's the source of life. That's the portal. It's the amazing power that we have as women to bring souls onto this material plane. That blows my mind. I'm a mother of two kids. Like I said, I have a daughter that's 7 and a son that's 5. And so the fact that I brought them into the world is amazing. Okay, here comes the eating part. This is so interesting for me to do, eat on camera. But I'm going to talk about magic and witchcraft. Wow, it's really good to eat now. So, my history with magic and witchcraft, thumbnail. Yeah, I guess it kind of starts when I was 20 years old. I joined a coven at the age of 20. I'm from Nashville, Tennessee. And so I was going to school, to university in Knoxville, Tennessee at that time. And so I found a group. College is a place where we all kind of experiment and come out and have a little bit more freedom to do what we want to do. So that was when I was age 20, but I did collect in my journaling last night a couple of anecdotes from like my childhood and teen years that I feel were kind of witchy, feel were kind of a part of this path, even though I was raised Southern Baptist, religious, fundamentalist. And so we went to church every Sunday. So during like my childhood, teen years, I went to church every Sunday until I was 18 and moved out. So to that point, witchcraft wasn't an active part, but there were some things about my childhood that I think were a little bit witchy that I experienced. For one, when I was in the 3rd grade, I had this best friend named Kayla, and we loved to write short stories. I still love to write. We loved to write short stories about wolves, and then in the playground, we would be these wolves. It was like our character, and we would play wolves, and I still love wolves. I absolutely think of the wolf as my spirit animal. And so, my wolf's name was Naomi. That was my wolf name, and she was my character in the short stories that I wrote about wolves too. So I think that's witchy because that's still my spirit animal. And also my family in my childhood started calling me Wolfie. That was my nickname because I loved wolves so much. I had this amazing Afghan blanket with a wolf on it. I need another one of those. So let's see. That was, I think, witchy. When I was a little child, maybe 3 or 4 years old, my grandpa's told me this story. It's really funny. He was pushing me on the swing. I was little. And he was pushing me on the swing. And while Grandpa was pushing me on the swing, he said, I used to swing like this when I was your age. And I said, I know, I pushed you. So there were some family members that were like, that's just a child saying childish things. But my grandpa was like kind of freaked out. Like he kind of believed what it was that I was saying. So some past life stuff. Another past life thing. I mentioned that I used to go to a Russian Orthodox church. I never converted, but I really liked attending the church. When I was 17, there was this cafe across from my mom's work that was run by a Russian Orthodox priest and his wife called Elector Cafe in Nashville, Tennessee. Any Nashville people remember that? And so my mom took me there for lunch because she used to go there for lunch with like her colleagues. It was really close to their office. And when I walked in, I was like Orthodox chant was playing, incense was burning. There were icons all around me. And it was this look of just like total like recognition and wonderment and awe, which is so, that's not the first sign that's pointed to me being Russian in a past life. It's like that recognition. I started going to the church as well for like a year or two. When I was 13, I wanted to marry a Russian man and move to Russia. Like what 13-year-old in Nashville, Tennessee in the 2000s is like thinking about that? I don't know. And so, yeah, I find it kind of hard to eat and weave a story at the same time. You ever experience that? Like the eating part is kind of hard. So I think that kind of covers all the stories that I wanted to tell about my childhood leading up until I was 20. This is the first incidence of magic that I can remember. When I was 18, didn't have to go to church anymore. I read a book about atheism. I was kind of like, let me go to the opposite extreme. And then jumped when I was 20. I can't remember a lot of other stories. There are parts of my childhood that are just gone. You know what I mean? When I was 20, I was going to school in Knoxville, Tennessee. And one of my classmates who was my age told me about a coven named Daythea, and I think she just invited me to attend. And so I became a member, but I do not remember like practicing rituals. Like the bulk of what Daythea Coven did was sit in the living room of the high priestess and just smoke cigarettes for a couple of hours in the evening and just talk. That's what we did. So I mentioned that to someone one time and he was like, yeah, well, you were smoking a magical herb with a magical group, having magical conversations. And I was like, true. We did do that. I just liked the feeling of fellowship. We would usually end our time together by holding hands and saying a chant that the high priestess had made. She was a trip. She had an awesome sense of humor. Like these East Tennessee people are something else. They're really cool. If you've ever met one, you know that they're kind of special, very country, very down to earth. So that was one of my first exposures to magic. And I lost contact with all of the people from Daythea Coven. I wish that I could make contact with them. There was one man and we were like, we're magical siblings. And I was the best man at his wedding, even though I was a girl and I was in a dress. He invited me to like be in his wedding. And I don't remember his name. I've completely lost contact with him because this was when I was 20 or 21. But that's really meaningful. So I would love to meet this person again. So another thing I wanted to mention, that was when I was 20, but my magical identity, my identity as a witch, it goes underground repeatedly throughout my history because there's always something within me. Like I take responsibility for this. That's like, this is wrong. This is bad. I'm wrong. I'm going underground, or if you will, back in the broom closet, shutting the door. I'm going to stay in there because it took me a really long time to fully accept my identity as a witch, as a magical person, and not feel ashamed of that. That took a long time. So I was 20. I was in a coven. Everything kind of shuts down. And then when I was 22 or 23, I started practicing ceremonial magic. I got really interested in the Golden Dawn, somewhat into Thelema at that point, but it was really more like the Golden Dawn, Wait, Israel Regardi sort of thing. So I started practicing the lesser banishing ritual, the pentagram, started a magical journal. That's really great. If you're doing like dedicated ritual work, write it down, because you're going to start seeing results and it's amazing to track your progress. Sorry, when I get nervous, my nose starts running. So this is an experience. We're having a good time. I'm having a good time. So thank you for this, for being here. I started practicing lesser banishing ritual of the pentagram, LBRP. That's a very basic ceremonial magical ritual. And so I did that maybe somewhat routinely. In my mid-20s, I started getting interested in the goddess Inanna, Sumerian goddess, because she's ancient. She's also an archetype of something even more ancient. She's like a well-known version of sort of like the great goddess. So that was one of my first encounters with her. I mean, also Greek Orthodoxy. Like you have the goddess in Catholicism and Orthodoxy, you have Mary, and they hail her and they pray to her. And she is, if not worshipped, venerated. I was raised Protestant. We didn't have the goddess. You know, Lutheranism, Protestantism, they take Mary out. Goddess is gone. That was one of my questions as a child. I was like, Father, Son, Holy Spirit, Father and Son, there can be no father or no son without a mother. A mother makes both a father and a son. They can't make themselves. A father cannot get the identity of father without a woman. A son cannot come to be without a woman. So I was kind of wondering that from an early age. It was like father and son. Where's the mother? So, but that's Protestantism for you, which's got a lot of confusion going on. So no hate to Protestants either. I just want to be like, just talking about my experience. So Orthodoxy was also an encounter with the goddess through Mary, because she's very respected and venerated. Let's see. So then Inanna, the goddess, I was getting more interested in her, but I didn't have a touchstone. I didn't have anything on which to hold when it regarded the great goddess. It was just a feeling that I had. And I had had it in my teenage years too, like where I want to connect with the divine feminine. Where is it? What can I hold on to? And I didn't have that yet. So no, when I was 26, I'm from Nashville, Tennessee, but I was 26. I moved to Seattle with my partner at the time. I was studying Thelema. I was really interested in that. And through just studying Thelema and I think my Instagram, I met a couple of girls locally. I met one girl through working at Whole Foods. Shauna Holler, like, I miss you. I'd love to reconnect with you. You were amazing. And you had this amazing Kefra tattoo, a scarab beetle tattooed here. Beautiful. I love that. And also just Kefra as a symbol in Thelema. The powers of the north, right? If you're in witchcraft, it's the direction of north, Kefra. The scarab beetle. Night, darkness. Back to what I was saying. I was living in Seattle. I was studying Thelema. I met Shauna through Whole Foods. She was also into Thelema. And through Shauna and I guess my Instagram, I met a woman who changed my life magically. The trajectory of my whole life, because I stepped into a new current when I met her. Her name at the time was Kendra. She later took the name Madimi156. So if I've got any John Dee fans out there who are, as I am, a fan of the 1600s astrologer, John Dee and his angels, all of that for me, that's a huge area of interest. So Kendra, Madimi156, she introduced me to the Babylon current. I was studying Thelema, but Madimi was like a living version of Babylon. She was the most Babylon woman I had ever met. And it's not because she said, like, I'm an avatar of Babylon. Just everything about her was just emanating this current. And I got really close to her. She ended up moving in with me and my partner at the time. And she always brought this amazing perspective, and I respect her. I've also lost contact with her. I tried to reinitiate it and then it just kind of fell off from her end. So I've had to respect. She didn't want to talk to me anymore. That's okay. I would still be very open to talking to her. The impact that she made on my life is amazing, because the Babylon current, it has to do with the number 156, which is the number of Babylon. And I see that number everywhere. I pray when I see that number. When it's 10:56 in the morning, I pray. When it's 1:56 in the afternoon and I happen to see that time, I pray. I like to pray. I think that's something we got to reclaim in witchcraft, is prayer, because prayer has been co-opted by, like, you have to do it in a certain way and you have to say certain words. I love praying. And I pray to the great goddess because she's the big boss. Like, she's the one who, to put it a certain way, I met this amazing woman one day that I think was an angel. Her name was Salome. That's a biblical name. Like, me and my siblings have biblical names. Rachel is a biblical name. Her name was Salome. People don't use that name, ever, because it's the name of this beautiful girl who danced. And the king said she could have anything she wanted. And she said, I want the head of John the Baptist on the platter. That's not one that Christian parents, not Southern Baptist ones anyway, give their daughters. But I met this woman named Salome one time, and I think she was an angel, because I can't find her afterwards. Salome would be an appropriate angel name if you know anything about John Dee. So Salome said to me, it was amazing. We were talking about Mary, who's in it, an emanation of the ancient goddess. And Salome said to me, it gave me goosebumps, so I just have to try and channel her voice. Behind everything, there is a creator. And behind the creator, there is a mother. And that's that will be with me for the rest of my life. So I see the great goddess as the big boss. You know, she's the one behind it all. She's the creatrix. Yeah, amazing. So Kendra Madimi, she really influenced me on a deep level. It's going to take a while to get through this meal because I'm just jazzed. I'm having a good time talking about my magical history because I'm digging up some things that I put into the closet. I'm taking them out now and I'm showing them to people, and that's making me feel alive. I feel really good doing that. Let's see. So, yeah, speaking of which, going in the broom closet. So in Seattle, I was really into Thelema. I got introduced to the Babylon current by the most Babylon woman I've ever met. And then I go into this phase again. Magic is evil. I sort of become conservative. I'm still living this mythical life, but magic is bad. I gave away all of my books on magic and my tarot cards. I had a tote tarot deck. I loved that thing and I gave it away and I haven't gotten another one yet. So that's probably has a little bit to do with my bitterness. I just need to do this. I need to move away from that blinding light. So yeah, that was at 27. I gave it all away. I was convinced magic was evil. I didn't want to accept that about myself. It's been a long road to come out of the closet, and just telling these stories is a big part of it. Women's stories are important. We need them. Let's see. I was at age 27. At age 29, I moved to Norway for the first time. I'm 37, so yeah. So that was about 8 years ago. When I first moved to Norway, I was really into Gnosticism at that time. I was reading Gnostic texts like the Thunder Perfect Mind. That's an amazing story about the goddess. And I will link it in the description because I think for anyone who's interested in the history of the goddess, you should read it. Let's see. So at age 33, that was 29. Hop forward to 33. There are some gaps in my magical resume. It's okay. I'm accepting that because I have not been able to accept this about myself. So I need to at least accept that I was ashamed at that time. You know, this is the road to acceptance. So there we go. So let's see. Hop from age 29 to age 33. I'm 37 now, so that's where we are in my timeline. At 33, I started practicing Lesser Banishing Ritual of the Pentagram, LBRP, a ceremonial magic, very just basic ritual. I did it every day for 3 months straight. That is the most devoted I've ever been to like a magical practice before, to any sort of ritual or ceremony. So I did that. I would say that I was doing that because I was unhappy with my situation, my living situation, my life situation. I felt very frustrated and stuck. I kind of wanted out. Let me tell you, it had results. It was explosive. Yeah, and it took some time to work, but I busted out of that situation. Woo! Yeah, it did things for me. The Lesser Banishing Ritual of the Pentagram. So I have been wanting to kind of start it up again. I haven't had a period of like strict practice like that since. And that's kind of, I feel like that's part of the vibe about ceremonial magic versus witchcraft and earth magic, right? Ceremonial magic it's rigid, it's masculine, you have to stick to a schedule, you have to be very devoted. So that's ceremonial magic, but witchcraft is feminine, it's fluid, it's flowing with the cycles. And I mean, ceremonial magic is absolutely attuned to the cycles as well. But I really long for and desire a union of these of these two aspects, ceremonial magic and witchcraft. Why do we have to choose just one or the other? Why can't we just be our authentic magical selves? And after all, that is the alchemical marriage, the sacred marriage, the hierogamos of the masculine and the feminine. And then you achieve wholeness. I feel that has been a huge theme in my life as well. The uniting of the masculine and the feminine within myself. So that was 4 years ago when I was 33, doing the lesser banishing ritual of the pentagram. And now fast forward to 37. I'm 37. About 1 year ago, I found a magical community here. Let me try and eat. Let's see. I found a magical community here. Yeah, and it's not a coven. It's really a circle of women who are interested in magic. And there's this one woman who's a witch. I'm a witch too. I don't have to say it like that. She's a witch. Practicing my voice, practicing saying it aloud. I'm a witch. And I like that about myself. She's a witch, and she's the one who gathers everyone at her house often. She organized a Beltane retreat on the 1st of May at a cabin. That was amazing. There was lots of magic. We do rituals together without the formal sense of it being a coven. I see her as the high priestess. I respect her a lot. I mean, she gathers us all together. Not everyone in the group, I think, would consider themselves a witch. I certainly do, but I love being a part of that magical circle. It has been, for me, so life-giving to be a part of a circle of women who practice magic together, who set intentions together. We cut up and laugh and have a good time together. My first time meeting with them was a year ago. It was in September last year, so almost 1 year now. And yeah, that was I can't remember what Wheel of the Year holiday that was. It must have been Mabon in September, because in witchcraft we have the Wheel of the Year, which is like 8 holidays around the year. 4 of them are the equinoxes and solstices. And then you have the cross quarters, which are the sacred days that fall in between. For instance, in a couple of days, it's about to be Lammas, which is like the first day of fall, the first day of the harvest. But I just wanted to share that in February of this year, we celebrated Imbolc. That was a few months ago, maybe 5 months ago. And that was a really significant meeting for me. A couple of things happened at that Imbolc ritual and circle that were huge for me. One of them was that a woman in circle said she had been looking for a certain herb, mugwort, which I also call cronewort. In Norwegian, it's called burot. So she was looking for mugwort, and I was like, it grows on the side of the road. It is everywhere. It's grown out the sidewalk. And she said, yeah, but I don't know what it looks like at all, so I can't identify it. I said, I've been thinking about leading an herb walk this summer. Would you like to come along and I can show you what it looks like? She's like, oh yes, I would love that. And so out of the 7 women that were in circle around me, 5 of them said that they wanted to come on my herb walk. And that was amazing. That was my initiation into leading herb walks and sharing knowledge about herbalism, which I've been studying for quite a long time. It felt really good. And so I led my first herb walk about 2 months ago, I think. And that felt great. It was just like so fun. I felt like being recognized for my interests, for what I'm good at. And I was also contributing to my community and meeting a need that was there that these women wanted. So that was an amazing thing that came out of the Imbolc ceremony, because Imbolc is in February and it's kind of celebrating the arrival of spring. Everything is starting to thaw. And because it's the midpoint between winter solstice and spring equinox. So Imbolc is like spring equinox is the middle of spring. Winter solstice is the middle of winter. So you can look at Imbolc as that transitional point in between. Imbolc is when right? When spring starts, slowly but surely, things start to bloom. And so another part of that in bulk circle that we had in February is my sister had been trying to conceive. So I took a handful of seeds that I'd harvested myself. They were angelica seeds, which is called kvam in Norway. Angelica is like an herb that's very much connected to women's health. And so I took a handful of angelica seeds and I placed them on the altar and I blessed them with my hands. And then I shared the intention with the circle. My sister is wanting to conceive, so I'm blessing these seeds now and I'm speaking out this intention that she will conceive, that these seeds will be fruitful. And that was in February. And now it is the very end of July, and my sister found out in the middle of July that she's pregnant, and I'm so happy for her, so happy. And I was so glad that I shared this intention with other women who were also holding it with me. And now it's been fruitful. So this magical circle that I'm a part of here in Norway, in the town where I live, is so nourishing and life-giving for me. It's also a place where I can share my gifts. It's a place where I can be seen as a witch, where we can talk about witchcraft openly and freely. And I am hoping for a time when, you know what, when there are a lot more circles like that, because women need it now. And witchcraft itself is a lot more accepted than it was 20 years ago. You know, when I was 17, 20 years ago, things like yoga, even 20 years ago, were looked at with suspicion. Like I expressed when I was 16 or 17, I was like, I want to try yoga. I want to start yoga. And a family member was like, I don't know about that. It's a little bit suspicious. Like it might not be Christian. So, but witchcraft even is in the public domain, a lot more accepted, a lot less feared. And that's amazing. I am thankful for that. Because it makes it easier for people like me to come out of the broom closet. It makes it easier for anyone to say, I'm interested in witchcraft. I'm interested in magic. I'm interested in the side of life beyond the material, the metaphysical. I love that word metaphysical, because it means above the physical, beyond the physical, over the physical. And I very much believe that the physical is being manifested from a non-physical place, be that mind, spirit, soul. Yeah, the physical is all coming about because of spiritual things. You know, I think I will probably wrap this up. I just wanted to say I'm really thankful to be out of the broom closet. I'm really thankful to tell my stories. Women's stories are really important. The stories that we need to share with others. Because just the telling of it feels really, really good. Just telling my story, just saying, this is who I am, this is where I've been. There are some gaps in my magical resume. That's because of shame. I'm not going to be ashamed of those anymore. I'm going to step out boldly and I'm going to hold this lineage and this legacy forward of magic, of the goddess religion, of women's mysteries. I have a lot more that I want to share on those topics, and I really look forward to it because talking about it is life-giving. So I'm very glad that you stuck with me and watched this video. I'm gonna finish eating this food now. I found out I'm not an expert at eating and talking at the same time. And that's okay because I really enjoyed sharing this video. So this is Out of the Broom Closet. I'm Rachel. I look forward to seeing you on the next one. Merry meet, merry part, and merry meet again. Bye-bye.